In this podcast, we're going to learn about HTML. As you can see here on the screen, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. This is not a programming language like C++, but rather it's a markup language, meaning that we create tags that define how the page will look. And the first thing I want to show you is this link here. And this is W3 Schools, which is a wonderful resource and something that you should be familiar with. This is the tutorial on HTML, but W3 Schools also has, as you can see across here, CSS, JavaScript, SQL, PHP, all kinds of stuff. It's just a wonderful resource. And in this, they have pretty much every possible link you can think of, whereas we're only going to be looking at the most common ones. That's all I'm going to ask you to do, because this is just to give you a taste of HTML. This resource provides you with a very comprehensive look. So, for example, if we did this, these examples, it shows you the HTML on this side and then shows you what it looks like. And the first tags we will be looking at are header tags. So this is just a good resource to be aware of. Alrighty, let's keep going. Okay, so we'll go into Notepad in a second, but just a couple of simple rules to remember. We'll start with these rules, we'll end with these rules, because these are important to remember. Number one, as we said, HTML basically tells the page what it should look like. When you create an HTML file, you will always save it as filename.htm or HTML, and you can use either one. You just have to remember which one. So I always suggest decide which one you want. It does not matter, but always stick with that so you don't have to remember. So always use HTML or always use HTML, and always keep the file name short. So when you create a web page, save it as something very short with no spaces in it, such as cat.html, or for me, njones.html. So keep it short, no spaces, don't put any weird characters in it. Keep everything lowercase, because some things are case sensitive. HTML is kind of forgiving, but other things are not. So always use lowercase so you don't have to remember it. And then always remember that in HTML we're going to have opening tags and closing tags. So, and you'll see this in a second. Opening tag, closing tag. You always start and end a web page with open HTML, close HTML. This backslash is the closing tag. So here's the format. Again, everything is always lowercase. I put some color in here just to show some distinctions, but we won't have color in our pages. So you always start an HTML web page with open HTML. So the opening tag, the closing tag, open HTML, and then this backslash closes it out. So open your web page with HTML, and at the bottom close your web page with HTML. There are two parts to a web page. This part here, the opening head tag and the closing head tag, are what I call the invisible parts of the web page. We will, when we get to CSS, we'll be putting some commands inside of these head opening and closing head tags, but they will not, for the most part, whatever we put inside these head tags do not show up on the web page. In contrast, anything that you do want to show up on the web page has to be inside the opening and closing body tags. Okay, so remember, you always open with HTML, you close with HTML. Two parts to a web page. The invisible part, anything inside the head tags, and the visible parts, anything that you want to show up on your web page, has to be inside these opening and closing body tags. Okay, invisible, visible. Okay. The only thing inside the head tag, there is something called a title tag. So if I put here the Great Moose Company as the title of the page, this should show up on the browser. And that is the only thing that should show up inside these head tags. It's the one exception. Okay, so we got that. You always open with HTML, you close with HTML. Two parts of the web page. The invisible parts inside the head tags. Oops, sorry. and anything you want to show up has to be inside the body tags. Okay, now before we go in and start this, you're going to have two assignments. This first one, create HTML. You have to create 3 web pages. Now here I've shown you 5 just for sake of illustration. I'm only asking you to do 3, but you can do as many as you want, of course. So let's say we were Stonewall Kitchens and they make jams and jellies and all kinds of stuff. If we were creating a web page, we would have several major web pages that would be across the top or the side navigation bar. We'd have a home page with our mission and some nice pictures and so on. We'd probably have a products page. We'd probably have a contact us page and so on. But I'm going to be asking you to create 2 major pages, say the equivalent of this, and 1 subsidiary page. So if we were Stonewall Kitchens, our major page would be the products page, but then we might have some sub pages. So if you click on jams, you'd see all the jams they make. If you click on syrups, you'd see all the syrups they make. And of course, you've seen this. Think about Apple. You've got a page for tablets. You've got a separate subsidiary page for phones, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm going to be asking you to do, to create basically 3 pages. And again, you can create more. It's fine. All right. Now, again, we always start and end with HTML. Make sure all your tags are nested, and we'll see this in a second. And any hidden commands are inside the head tags. Anything you want to be seen on the web page have to be inside the body tag. So let's get out of this for a second. And if I'm working on a PC, so I'm going to go into Notepad. If you're on an Apple, it's similar. You've got something similar. Let's see. I'm going to go into Accessories, and I'm going to go into Notepad. All right. Now, if you are opening it, I've already done this, but font, you can set the font. I've set it at 18 so we can see it. So that's okay. All right, so let's do this. So you always start with the opening HTML, go down a little bit, and then we close out. So remember the backslash HTML. All right, now, usually indent just so it's easier to see it. So the head tags, this is all the invisible content. Remember, we'll have a title in here, and I'll just call this the Great Moose Company. So that should show up in the browser. /title. So see how we're nesting it? Open, close. So open, close, open, / close, open, close. You getting the idea of nesting? Okay, so let me, just so it's easier to see, skip a space. Now, we're in the body section, right? So remember that open, close, all right? Anything we want to show up on our web page has to be inside these body tags. The first thing I want to show you, let me go back to our PowerPoint. Start with the head tags. Remember when I showed you that W3 schools, there were header tags? So this is the first thing. There's 6 of them. H1 is the largest, all the way down to H6 is the smallest. So let's go back to our Notepad, if I can find it. Where'd it go? We've lost it. Well, you know what? I'll just keep going through this, and then we'll go back and do it in there. Okay, so header tags, H1 is the largest, H2, and you can play with these. Text elements, there's a paragraph tag, so open P, close P, if you want to start a new paragraph. Now these are different. For the most part, I've been saying you have to open and close, open and close. There are a couple of exceptions. If you just want a line break, so in other words, like if you're hitting the Enter key, you just put a BR tag and it'll take you down one. Or if you want a line in your page, HR puts a line in the page. A few other common text tags. This basically is similar. EM and strong are pretty much the same thing. Emphasize or strong if you want it, and bold. These are all pretty much the same, but you can play with them to see. If you want something to look bold, you put either open EM, close EM, open strong, close strong, or open bold, close bold. For italics, it's an I, open I, close I. Okay, here we are back at our notepad. So let's play with this. Let's do an H1, that's the biggest one, and say the Great Moose Company, and close out my H1 tag. Now these header tags will automatically drop you down. So if I do, let's say, an H3, which is smaller, the best moose products on the planet. So open, close. Okay, now let's do a paragraph tag. So P for paragraph. This starts a new paragraph, and say the mission of our company is to provide you with wonderful moose products. Okay, so open, close. Now let's say that I want to make wonderful moose products bold. So I would, and again, we can play with this. Remember, EM for emphasis, strong or bold, but I'm just going to use bold. So I want just these parts of my sentence to be in bold. So I would open the bold here and then close the bold there. Okay. Now let's go ahead and save this. So let's do File, Save As, and I'll put this under my desktop just so I can find it. And I'm going to call this moose.htm, and I want to put all files. Okay, so notice how it's a simple short word. There's no spaces. I always use HTM because it's short and easy. So I will save this. Okay, so now it's saved. All right, now let's go back and see what other tags that we have here. All right. Okay, now here, these are important. We all want links in here. So here is the here's the code for how to put in links, and it is A stands for anchor, href, hyperlink reference is what that stands for. So what you're saying, you're giving it a command saying, I want to link to this website right here, and then I put text in, and then I close it out. So open A, close A. Now you can put in a link to a picture by doing the same thing. Let's say if you have the URL of a picture, you can put that link in here. The image source is the URL, and then if you have visually impaired people, you would put what this is. So if this was a picture of a moose, you would say the alternate is moose picture. So open A, close A, but you're putting the link to a picture in here. If you want to put in an email address, it's the same thing. So you open with an A, you close with an A, but the hyperlink reference is, instead of just the web address here, it's mail to, and then you put the mailing address, and then you put the text that will show up on the screen, and you close it out. And then finally, to put in an image that you actually have on your web server, this is the command. It's image source equals, and this is the name of the picture that is actually on your server, and it also then gives it an alternate text for visually impaired people. So let's do this. Let me go ahead and copy all these just for sake of time. I'm gonna copy these, and then I'm going to go to my notepad again. I'm going to paste them in. I mean, actually, in some ways, you know, it's kind of nice to type them in just so you get to see what it is. But again, just for the sake of time, I'm going to do this. So again, so ahref equals, this is a link. So let's put in here, umain.edu/business. So I'm going to say, what will show up on the screen is what I put afterwards. So I say Main Business School. That will show up on the screen. So again, just to show you, open with the A, the anchor, and then you close with the A. Okay, so open A, close A. The link command is href, hyperlink reference, the web address, and then whatever you put in here is what will show up on the screen. Now, let me put in a link to a picture. Let's go back here. So I went online and I just found a picture of a moose, and I copied the URL. And so now I'm going to go back into my notepad, and so, okay, so same thing, open A, close A. This time I want to put in a picture of a moose, so I'll just copy in here what I put in before. The image source is URL, and for the alt text I'll say waving moose. Okay. And then finally, for an email address, open A, close A. The difference is the hypertext reference is mail to, and I'll just put in my own email, mjones@main.edu. Send me an email. So this is what will show up on the screen again. Okay, and then the last thing is this image source. Now this is a little bit different, and this is where we're going to get into how to send your files to the server. So let me back up here for a second. Okay, what I did is I typed in www.mbs.main.edu, and that brought me to the business school server. And you see there's a link here called software, and I am on Windows, you're on Mac. Now what I want is I want to download SSH onto my computer. SSH stands for Secure Shell Socket Layer. It's an FTP file transfer program that is encrypted, so it's secure. So what I'm going to do is I will save the file, and I will save it onto my desktop. Okay, and now theoretically I should be able to go to my desktop here. Oops. Yes. Okay. And I want to install it, the SSH folder. So I will open that. Here we go. And to send your files, your HTML files, to the server, what you want to do is click connect. The host name is www.mbs.main.edu. Your username is what I sent you. So in my case, okay, so you put in your username, what I gave you. Usually it's last name _ first name, and then you click connect, and then you put in the password I gave you, which should be your Main Street number. And then this is what you should get. So how this works is that there's two sides to it. This side here is your computer. For me, this is my laptop I'm working on right now. It's got all my files in it and so on. And here is the MBS server. Now you notice there's a private and a public space on the server. You have to go into this public HTML in order to put your web pages on the internet. If you don't do that, you will not have pages on the internet. So let me go back up again. So when you log in, you'll see private and public. You have to double click and go into your public space and put your files in here, okay? So notice I've got all kinds of files in here. The ones with JPEG or pictures. I've got a cat, I've got a puppy, I've got all kinds of other things. But what I want to do is I want to put my page on here, and I actually HTML. So all I have to do to send this file to the server in the main business school is to click on it and drag it over here. Okay. Now, theoretically, what I should be able to do is tilde, this little squiggly in the top left-hand part. You have to have the little squiggly or it won't work. So you see this, if you can see this little squiggly, last name, first name, and then moose.htm. Okay, so this is what I did, all right? Now, this is how you do SSH, and I'm going to leave that open for now as we continue with our PowerPoint. All right, so where were we? Okay. Oh, now here's the other point I was about to make. In this image source, I want you to see, I go back in here, you notice I have a puppy picture and I have a cat picture. What I'm going to do, I can't remember what they look like, but I'm going to do puppy in my notepad, in my HTML code. So under image source, I'm going to say puppy.jpg, and alt of the text is a puppy. Okay, so now I'm going to save this file, save, and there's a couple of things I want to point out to you. What's happening here is I already had sent this picture of a puppy to my space on the server. So if we go back, so this is everything I have in the server, and I already have this picture of the puppy in here. So when I use that that command, image source equals, I'm saying I want you to take this picture of a puppy that I have in my server, and I want you to put it in on my web page. So you have to have the picture in your server for it to work. And so now I'm going to refresh this. Here's my refresh. Okay, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to send it back over here. I'm going to replace it. And theoretically, hopefully this will work. If I refresh this, there we go. See, now look at that. See, here's the picture of the puppy I had in here. Here's my link to the business school I put in here. Here's the link to the waving moose. Oh, I guess I didn't have a correct URL, but that's okay. And then here's an email. If I click on that, it opens up First Class, which I would have to log into, but it would work. So let's go back into Notepad and let's put in a couple more commands here. You notice how the links were all together? Well, one thing I could have done is I could have started a new paragraph and ended this paragraph here, /paragraph. Or after this link that did not work, I could put that line break in there. Now, see, notice my nesting is not correct because this all is part. This image source URL should be part of that. So if I wanted a line after that, I'd have to put it when that was done. Okay, and let's say I want to put in another line break here, and then my image of the puppy. And let's say I want to put in an actual line in the page. That's where I would put in the HR. Okay. Remember the line break and the line on the page are some of the only commands that do not require you to have a closing tag. So let's save this file. Save. Let's go back into our SSH program. Let's refresh it. And then I take this moose and I send it back over here. I replace it. And now, theoretically, I should be able to hit the refresh here. Let's see what happens. There we go. Look at that. See, we put in some line breaks. We put in this line in the page, put the puppy down here. So you can see how this works. All right, let's finish up with the last few commands. So those are anchors. Okay, there's lists. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just basically copy and paste these lists. So an unordered list is where you have bullets. An ordered list is where you have numbers. So let's go back in and let's put these in here into our notepad. So let's put another line break in there. And now let's put in these lists. So I'm going to paste the list in here. All right. Now the way this works for both unordered or ordered, it's the same thing. It's just that if you want to have bullets, you use an unordered list. If you want to have numbers, you would have an ordered list. So unordered list, we open and close. Remember nesting, open, close. So let's say unordered list. So we have, let's say we have, let's start on a new paragraph. We're going to say some loose products. And now remember, open, close, nesting. So open, we open the paragraph. Now we're going to close the paragraph. So let's say moose candy and moose toys. Okay. All right, so there's a list. Now let's go back to our PowerPoint. And let's go to the next thing. Now tables. We're going to put in a table. And again, I'm just going to copy and paste it. And this is just for sake of illustration. Yours is going to be prettier than this and probably more logical, but let's put in a table. So let's put in another paragraph. Now, go down a little bit here so we can see what's going on. All right, we started a new paragraph. Now I'm going to paste in this table format. All right. I'll show you what this means. Formatting got corrupted here, but that's okay. Let me just put this in here, and then you can see how this works. Okay, now, I'm almost ready, but this is okay because you'll be doing this as well. Table command is open table and close table. That makes sense. So let's just do that. There. All right, now we're good. All right. So we opened with a paragraph. Now we need to close with a paragraph. Okay. Now, so just insert a table into your page. You open with a table and then you close with a table. If you want a border, this is the command. This puts a line around everything. If you don't want lines, this would be 0. But I will just leave it 1 so we have a border. Table row. Okay, the way this works is that, okay, there in a table you've got rows and columns. So rows are horizontal, columns are vertical, right? So the way it works is you do it, you put in your horizontal rows. So you start with a table row, and this is, TH stands for table header. So let's say we're going to say moose candy and moose toys. Okay, so in other words, what we're saying is that we are creating a table, a row with 2 columns in it. One column is moose candy and another one is moose toys. So we open a table row, horizontal, we close the table row. Then we're going to open up a second table row, and we're going to say under moose candy we're going to have chocolate in our first column, and we're going to have, let's see, how about a small stuffed moose. Okay, and if we were to do it again, let's just do one more so you can see. So we opened a second row. Now we're gonna start a third row. Okay, so a third row, table row, and then the TD stands for table data. Table data. So moose candy, chocolate, chocolate mousse. Let's do lollipops. Lollipop mooses. So open table data, close table data, and then for the second column under toys, table data, let's do large stuffed moose. And close your table data. And then we have to close this table row. Okay, there. And let's go ahead and save this. File, save, and let's go back into our SSH program and refresh that. Send this moose file back over here, replace it, yes. And let's go back into here and let's refresh this. All right, so there we go. Okay, so some moose products. Here was your unordered list, moose candy, moose toys. And here we created the table. So the table header, you say is in bold. So this is the first row, the second row, the third row. And so we had 2 columns. So moose candy, we have chocolate and lollipops. For moose toys, we have small stuffed moose and large stuffed moose. Okay. Now let's go back and see what other commands we have here. The last one is a div tag, and basically we're going to be working with the div tags in the next podcast when we go to CSS. But essentially, we're going to use the div tag is very similar to a paragraph tag. It basically creates a little box where you put commands in there. So I'm not going to put it in this one here, but just say that we're going to come back to this when we get to the CSS one. And we're going to close this podcast with some final reminders. Again, always open with HTML, close with HTML. The hidden part is inside your head tags. Anything you want to be seen on your web page has to be inside your body tags. Everything must be properly nested. Always use lowercase. Save your names, your file names short, no spaces, and save it as either .htm or .html. And the very last thing that I want to show you is when you create the subsidiary page, what I'm going to be asking you guys actually to do is to link all 3 pages together. So let's say you do a subsidiary page of moose candy. All right, so let's do this in an easy way. Let's say here we have the list, and let's say we're going to put in a link. We're going to create a second subsidiary page because I think you can create a separate new page by yourself. Let's say we're going to create a second subsidiary page, and we're going to use the ahref link tag. So let's just type this in so you can see how this works. Okay, so let's put this inside another paragraph just to be on the safe side. So we have a new space. We're going to use the tag A, open A, href equals, and in quotes, we're going to say http:// and this is where you're going to put the address to the subsidiary page that you're going to create. So it's going to be www.mbs.main.edu/ and remember the tilde, and I'm going to put mine Jones Nori, and I'm going to create a page called Candy. Okay? And then remember that I'm going to close this out. I'm going to say visit our moose candy page, and I'm going to close it out /a. All right? So I'm going to save this file, save. Now, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to create a new page. I'm going to have to go through all of this again, but instead of this, it's going to be called Moose Candy, and I'm going to create a page with some pictures of candy, and I'm going to save it as, do you remember what I'll save it as? I'm going to save it as candy.htm. Now, if you want, I can do that real quick. New. So let's just do this real quick. HTML I'm just going to do a very simple page /HTML. So this is a good review for you. Okay, so okay, open head, title, Moose Candy, close the title, close the head. Okay, now remember, the body is what will have content in it. So let's do an H2. Great Moose Candy /H2. And then of course, you know, I put in things like links and pictures and so on. But let me close the body so I don't forget. Now, when I said to link all the pages together, let's do a line break. Let's put in a link to take us back to the home page. So let's see if you remember this. So open tag A, href equals quote http://www.mbs.maine.edu/tilde, don't forget, Jones, Murray, / And what was the name of my homepage? It was moose.htm. Remember that? Close it out. Return to home page. Close out /A. Now let's save this as candy file. Save as candy.htm, and remember to change this to all files, and it should be on my desktop. So I'm going to save that. Okay. Now I go back to my SSH. I'm going to refresh this. So notice we have this candy on here. Actually, I'm going to send them both over because I think we updated the Moose page. I'll update that. Now I'm going to take the candy, send that over. Now I should be able to go back to here, refresh that. Okay, now you see how the link showed up? We created the link. Visit our Moose Candy. Oops. Uh-oh. Candy. Oh, I must have made a mistake. Actually, this is good troubleshooting. Let's go back to here and say, oh, return to the Moose page. Let's go back to file, open, desktop, all files. Let's go back to Moose. All right, now what was the problem here? Candy.htm. Look at that, see? All these little things. So let's save that again. Let's go back and send it back over. Refresh. Moose. Yes. See, troubleshooting is part of the process. So let's refresh this. All right. Our candy page. There we go. See? Now we're back to our candy page. Now we're returned to the home page. And this is what you have to do. So you have to link all the pages together. You have to create 3 pages, 2 major pages, 1 subsidiary page, and that should do it.